It's now or never, and there's a lot going on in the world of UFC, so we welcome our friend, Ariel Helwani. What's up, Ariel?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Great, man. Our first question is about Dana White. He's got so much beef going on with all of his superstars. I'm wondering, with the big announcement today, did he redeem himself?
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's got beef with all the superstars, but not with you, right?
Not with you, right, Ariel?
Did he redeem himself? I mean, I think that the fans, at the end of the day, especially in the midst of all of this, they want good news, right? And so today was a good news day. There were a lot of great fights announced. 251 is a really good card on paper. And then, of course, the Cormier versus Miocic trilogy fight gets announced for August. So this is all great news. I don't think it necessarily makes up for other things or overshadows other things, but we can say in a vacuum this is good news. As far as 251 is concerned, I would say there's maybe one part that doesn't sit 100% well with me. It's that the fight that we really wanted to see at the top of that card was Usman versus Masvidal. They couldn't come to terms with Masvidal, so they're going with Gilbert Burns, which is a great fight. It's a fine fight. He is a deserving contender, but that's the fight we really wanted to see. And unfortunately, due to contract negotiations that didn't really go very well, they're going on to the next guy who is offering up his services for a cheaper rate, so to speak. So it's a bummer, but hopefully Masvidal gets his fight because he deserves it. 17 years in the game, he deserves to get a big payday, and in my opinion, he deserves to be fighting for the title next.
Ariel, we're going to go over 251, but one last thing about Dana, because I'm sure your relationship with him over the years, he's a very active president in his sport. Does he take a lot of pride in being transparent with the fans and giving people the stuff they want? Like, does it affect him when he knows that the fans know he's beefing with some of the stars?
I mean, no one wants to be openly feuding with some of your top stars, right? In any walk of life, not even sports, anything. But I think that Dana, over the years, kind of gets up a little bit when he feels like he's being challenged. I don't think he necessarily minds this at all. I don't think he's going to bed at night feeling down or depressed. I think he likes it when someone is poking him in the chest and is trying to rile him up. Now, historically, it's always been a competitor that does that, right? Another organization. In this case, it's some of his biggest names who are doing it. But, if you look at him, he doesn't seem all that rattled. I mean, maybe he gets a little bit testy, a little bit on edge when he's, asked about this repeatedly. But I don't think this is deterring him or getting him off his game. If anything, it gives him a little more motivation, a little more pep in his step to forge on. He's the type of guy that when he is openly criticized, it seems like he doubles down and he digs his heels in and he just comes out swinging. And so I don't think that we're going to see a toned down Dana or a Dana who's going to relent in any way, shape, or form. This is the kind of stuff that I think he thrives off of.
Well, let's talk 251. You talked about Usman Burns. A lot of people feeling like this is a fill-in fight. You said he's deserving. Is Burns ready? It's a 42 days. It's a really quick turnaround for him. And will we get that Masvidal-Usman fight down the road?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Burns wins this fight, then it screws that fight up. But no, he is ready. I mean, he didn't get banged up against Tyron Woodley. He likes to take fights on short notice. He fought in March, then of course in late May, and now he's fighting again in July. This is an opportunity. Like, if you would have told me at the beginning of January that Gilbert Burns would be fighting for the belt in July, I would have never believed it. He was a fighter that was, doing pretty well and slowly climbing his way up, but nowhere near the title picture because, of course, we thought, all right, Masvidal would be next, and then maybe Leon Edwards, who's on an 8-fight winning streak. I mean, that's the other story here. He gets passed over as well. Leon Edwards, who's won 8 in a row. Unfortunately, he's in the UK, and it's hard to train there right now. So Gilbert Burns is taking advantage of the moment. He's taking advantage of the situation, and credit to him. The only reason I bring it up on a somewhat sour note is because you never want to see someone who feels like they are owed a certain amount of money or that they've done enough, they've put enough time in the game, and then all of a sudden they're made expendable because there's someone out there who can do it for a lot cheaper, right?
Right.
And so that's the part that kind of, is a bit of a bummer to the fans. But, if you ignore everything else and just look at the fight on paper, Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman should be a really fun fight.
Okay.
What about Aldo? Does this make sense to you?
Well, I personally think that Aljamain Sterling is the uncrowned champion of the UFC's bantamweight division. He beat Corey Sandhagen. I thought they should have made that fight for the vacant title, and then they should have done Sterling versus Yan. And by the way, the fight went so quickly, they could have made Sterling versus Yan in July. Petr Yan deserves to be in the title fight. I don't love the idea of Aldo being in a title fight because he's 0-1 as a bantamweight. Yes, he's the most decorated featherweight champion of all time, but I mean, he's 0-1 as a bantamweight.
Yeah.
And I know that his lone bantamweight fight was a very close fight. And I know that a lot of people thought that he deserved to win that fight, but he didn't. The judges didn't give it to him. And so it's a little strange to me, but trust me, if you've never seen Petr Yan fight, the guy is amazing. He is a beast out there. They call him the Siberian gangster. I mean, he just doesn't care. He knows one speed, and he's a lot of fun to watch. And so the fight I really want to see is Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, eventually coming off that big win for Sterling. To me, I was so impressed with that performance, and that's why I think he's the uncrowned champ. In a vacuum, it's fun, but there's always this other stuff that, clouds my judgment.
Volkanovski and Holloway too. Did Holloway learn anything from the last fight? What sort of adjustments is he going to make?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he's aware of the leg kicks. The leg kicks were a big problem in that first fight for him. And, it's been really interesting because my understanding is, Holloway pretty much agreed to the rematch in December, the night of the fight. And if you look at his social media, he's never called out Volkanovski. He hasn't been banging the drum. He hasn't been campaigning for it. He has been relatively quiet. I mean, he talks about other things, but rarely, if ever, about the actual, fights themselves. The title fight, he doesn't need to do any campaigning. So that burden was off his shoulders. And it seemed like, Volkanovski had to get better. He had hand surgery after the fight, all that stuff, but it was his fight for the taking from the moment that he lost the belt. So that's really interesting. And it seems like he has a quiet confidence. This is a guy who won, off the top of my head, 13 featherweight fights in a row leading up to that title fight in December. He had an incredible run at 145 pounds. And so, to your question, I'm really curious to see if he's able to figure out the mistakes that he made and rectify them in this fight because, you lose to the champion twice, you're kind of in purgatory. It's really hard to get that third crack. So this is a must win for Max Holloway.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.